Okay, I think I remember very vividly how my mom and dad supported me. Because, I grew up as a stutterer, I was a stammerer. My cognitive abilities didn't develop so fast, so most people thought that I was probably retarded and all of those things. But I saw how my mom and dad looked at me, they looked at me as someone who had hope. And even when I started to grow as a stutterer, I was very, very bold about my ambitions. I told them a lot of things, and my mom wouldn't doubt me, my dad wouldn't doubt me. As a stutterer, all of my siblings are stutterers and stammerers and all of those things. I would tell them, hey, I want to be a lawyer, and my mom wouldn't look at me and say, no, you're a stutterer, so you can't be one. She'd look at me without gaze of hope, hoping that someday something will come out of me. And that's why I'm very excited that I have the Zidane's parents here, because I know how my parents supported me. They pushed me, they inspired me, and they believed in me when every other person thought I was, maybe that child was going to be retarded or something. So I am very honored to be in your midst today, in the presence. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate you. Let's please clap for them. And it looks like we are cold. I don't like cold atmosphere. We're cold. Let's stand up, except our parents. Everybody stand up, please. You're cold. I want you to shake it off. This is your young person. Shake it off. And let's do business. You're probably going to have the most incredible time of your life. Yeah. Yes, you are. So I want you to get ready for it. Close your eyes. And if you can go a little bit lower. Hey, just lower a little bit. So I want you to close your eyes and imagine that all of the obstacles, everything you call a challenge, all the obstacles, the difficulties, poverty, lack, Nigeria, Tinubu, and any other things that you think that is a difficulty in your life. Imagine if they're non-existent, like they're all kicked away, the walls have been broken down, your excuses, all of it are taken away. I want you to imagine that you're beginning to have the life that you've always desired. Your childhood dreams, all those ambitions you had before now that you've probably relegated, and you've picked up some easier dreams. Imagine that all of those things are now possible. I want you to imagine that. Imagine yourself driving all those cars you ever wanted to drive, flying abroad, going to places, experiencing the world. Imagine that you had all that you wished for. I want you to imagine that that's all possible. And then open your eyes. Look at me. I am that possibility. Sit down. So I honestly do not know why they had to bring me right after Victor. Everywhere I go, they bring taller people, and I have to come and take the stage after that, because Victor is actually almost tall as the ceiling. It's not fair, man. So today I'm going to be talking about something that I think is very, very interesting. I think something that is overlooked by a lot of young people. And I think it's something that will dramatically change your life if you adhere to it. Today I'm going to be talking about brain drain. What did I say? Brain. Say it excitedly. What did I say? Brain. I want you to say it excitedly. What? Brain. Why are you guys cold? What am I talking about? Brain drain. Good. Most times when we hear about brain drain, we maybe define it in the realm, great minds, incredible talents, leave Nigeria or other African countries for, the bigger world countries like the US and all of those things. There's a transportation of incredible minds up there because they have better opportunities. But today I want to give you a newer definition. I think brain drain has taken a new dimension. Who knows what brain drain is? So I don't assume that we all know it. If you know what brain drain is, let me see your hands. Yes, the regular meaning. This is the normal meaning of brain drain. You know that, so I was assuming after all. So brain drain, the regular meaning is a situation where brilliant minds, like our doctors, our lawyers, I'm a lawyer, they are attracted by the incredible opportunities abroad. nurses here who are being paid 30k, 40k, 100k have opportunities abroad where they're paying them $100,000 a year. That's good money. So all those attractive opportunities, people living here, there is actually brain drain. Now you understand what I mean. Do you understand that? You have to be active because this is a conversation. So that's the regular conventional meaning of brain drain. But over the years, there's currently a brain drain happening right here. And the best minds, they don't have to travel abroad, before the brain drain is currently happening. I think I want you to discover why the real war for Africa is not at the airport, but in your pocket. There's a war currently happening, and the war is about your attention. I almost said praise the Lord. I don't know. I think I'm going to become a pastor very soon. But yeah. I honestly think that there's a war for attention. And Africa's youth, because Africa has the largest population, we all know that. That's like cliche. We have the largest population. We have the largest population. We know that, yeah? Nigeria has probably Africa's largest, youngest population. And that's a big advantage. We are a threat to the first world nation. Do you know that? Am I talking to you?
Yes, sir.
Do you know that you're a threat to the first world nations? Yeah. Because you're young, you're agile, you're strong, you're resilient. The average Nigerian young person is a dogged person. We know how to find our ways. You all know that. And so, because of that, something is currently being done to your mind. The first world nations are turning our young people into zombies. Do you agree with me? They are redefining what you are. They are telling you what you should be. And all of those things is happening because of the war of brain drain. So at the moment, when they give birth to you as a young Nigerian and you start to grow up, you begin to develop your cognitive abilities. Your cognitive abilities is the ability of your brain to think, to focus, to pay attention, to do things. And as you begin to, build, go to school, all of those things are sharpened and they are developed. But at some point, the first world nations, of course, technology and all of those things are wrongly used by you, your parents, your school, the social media, and all of those things starts to interfere with your cognitive ability. So you deviate from being someone who is, supposed to have incredible cognitive abilities to someone who has cognitive abilities like a zombie. So you are told what to do, you're told what to eat, you're told where to go, what to wear, and that's a lot of disservice to you. So I want to talk about how... No, that's not it. Good. Let me give you a brief introduction of who I am first. First of all, the guy said I'm a lawyer, and secondly, I own a marketing agency. When Paul said, I've forgotten, but let no man trouble me, yeah, because I bear on me the mark of what? Christ. I think that because of the place that I come from, I came from being a stutterer, coming from an Angwara, coming from places where people had to struggle with drug addiction, teenage pregnancy. I've seen 13 years old, having babies, and the father is also a 14-year-old. I've seen gang fights. I've seen my friends currently in prison. Some of my friends are cultists who are now killed, they are dead, and all of those things. So I bear on me the mark of someone who has almost said it all. So I think I have the rights and the authority to talk to you. So listen to me. What did I say? I'm going to change your life today. If you believe me, say amen. Amen. Yes. So I grew up in a lot of scarcity. Like a lot of scarcity. We saw lack. We saw lack to the extent that my mom, at some point, my dad was working for the civil service as a very low-grade staff, and the rain was falling heavily. We didn't have a stove then, and my siblings were all crying. We needed food. My mom had to do firewood fire inside our one room. She had to shift most of our clothes and put up firewood just to be able to get us food that day. Because that year, I don't know about now, rain used to fall so heavily in Jos. I grew up so badly that my mom, sometimes in the morning, to get us food to eat, she had to hawk vegetables on her head. She was so proud. She loved it, of course, just to get us food to eat. My dad was so agile. He had to do megad. He had to be a gate man for someone else. And sometimes when I pass, because the funny thing about life is that I have to pass through the front of the gate where my dad works in the bank as a megad to go to my school. So it was so crazy that when my friends ask me, what does your dad do? I tell them that my dad is his chief security officer. But he wasn't. He was a gate man. You know that. So I know I came from scarcity. And when I see how far the Lord has taken me and where I'm headed, I am thrilled. How the Lord can use someone like me, a stutterer, poverty, and lawyer. I own my business. I've made so much, thousands of dollars online, helped my mom. I lost my dad sadly. And my mom is so proud of me. Like so proud of me that my siblings think that she likes me more than she likes all of them. And by the way, I've got 7 siblings. And the typical Idoma home, I have like 12 other cousins that stayed with us. So I have a lot of siblings. And I knew that most of my growth, most of the things that I was able to achieve was because I shifted from the conventional learning system into a system that was limited to the average Nigerian. The average Nigerian doesn't like himself. The average Nigerian is bedeviled by low self-esteem and victim mentality. I was playing that game too, when I went to secondary school, and for some reasons I was just smart. That's the story of the average Nigerian children or person. Like deep within you, probably you're struggling with a course, you failed a particular subject, but deep within you that you're a smart person. But you just can't explain why things are happening. Why you're failing, why you are broke. You're smart. That if you're given the opportunity, you're going to make the best out of it. But you cannot explain why things aren't going your way. So I had that story too. I'm going to cut this short because I have very limited time. Even when I decided that I was going to study law, I was stuttering so bad. Like really, really bad. I was a crazy stammerer. In fact, we still stammer in my house. When I go back home, it's crazy. It's not crazy. I want to say it's crazy how God does it, but God is not crazy. But it's incredible how God does it. That every time I come on stage, I don't stutter. But when I go with my siblings, the stammering committee, we all stutter like crazy. Like we stutter really bad that we laugh at ourselves every single time. It's so funny how that happens. But I don't stutter here. So it's God, yeah? It's God, yeah? Please reply. It's God, yeah? So my story is not, something to make you think that I'm proud, but something to help you rethink your life and something to tell you that you've got a chance, like you could make it happen. You can literally make it happen. So I told myself I was going to become a lawyer, regardless of all challenges. I wanted to become a doctor, but I knew that my cognitive ability wasn't. I was a science student. I left it. I ran to the art class and I said, what, I'm going to be a lawyer. And so I started from my jam, went to ABU, that's Ahmadu Bello University, and it was hell for me. Because for most of my study time, most of my time in school, I struggled with a lot of things. First, I struggled with the fact that I was not tall. I also struggled with the fact that I was a stutterer. So my self-esteem was very, very low. I had people who admired me because I sound better and I was smart. I was probably one of the best in my class. I graduated with a 4.2 or 4.1 over 5 CGPA and all of those things. But right amidst all of those things, I didn't like myself. I always thought that I was the victim, that life was against me, that my dad would have done better, that he would have, because he always, laments about his life. He thought if I had another chance, I probably would do it better. So I took upon that narrative for him and I said, if my dad had done better, I probably would have, had, access to money. I would have had access to a better life. I blamed Nigeria for everything that was happening to me. And you know what that meant to me? I was so broke. I was so broke that most times I couldn't afford to cut my hair in school. And sometimes I'll call my siblings and I'll cry and tell them I don't have all of these things. At some point, I didn't even have accommodation. I was squatting with somebody in the hostel. It was that bad, you know. And I developed a skill, which was begging. I was so good at begging that if I beg you, you will beg me to take your money. It was that incredible. I found a skill finally. So I would go around, because in my class, I was privileged to have children from very, very wealthy family. In fact, I had children of generals. The deputy governor of my state his child was in my class. So I had access to people who had money but didn't know what to do with it. So I found the way of begging them to give me their money. Blackmailing them to give me their handouts. So I struggled through school through all of those skills of begging, going into this room, beg spaghetti, go to this room, beg kerosene. You guys don't know kerosene, too bad. I know, I'll beg gas, and I'll have a meal after that. And that's what I used to survive. And that skill moved from begging physically to begging online. Because I told myself, I saw how my mom prayed for us every single night. How my mom was a very devoted Catholic. When she would just run into our room where we slept like this on one bed. My sister, myself, my brother, my cousin were sleeping like this. My mom would just open the curtain and pour holy water on us. It's time for prayer. She was so a very devoted Christian. And I told myself, I can't do fraud. Because I saw my friends, because I grew up in a very, Angwa place. Everyone was doing fraud because they wanted something to survive. I looked at myself and I can't do fraud. I can't give my mom fraud money. It was an abomination for me. My dad, all the suffering and investments in me, I can't do fraud. So I started to beg online. And you know who I was begging? I was begging the white folks. Because I wasn't going to beg Nigerians. They've developed a mechanism of a no, nothing. Nobody was going to give you anything online. So I started to watch American movies, and all of a sudden I fell in love with the Western culture. I didn't think they were superior to us, but I thought that they had the abundant mindset. I thought that they were enjoying life better than how we were. I thought that they loved themselves even better, so I started to beg them for money. I started to beg for money like crazy online. And I started to make money. Surprisingly, someone will give me $100. I'll tell them about how bad Nigeria is and how I'm a victim, and they will pity me, and then they will give me money. You know that. I'm saying all these stories so I can build on this particular topic. And so I stumbled upon a 19-year-old lady. A small lady, like, not small lady, 19 years is not small. And I was begging her for, just imagine, $200. At that time, I was in school, I think 300 level law. And she said, I'm going to give you $200. You're from a third world country and you all are broke. I'm like, yes, we are broke. We need money. I used to think I was a victim. So, she then asked me, what do you do? I told her I'm a 300 level law student, just to invoke more empathy, emotions. And I need this money because I need handouts and everything. And she paused for a while and asked me, you're a 300 level law student? I said, yes. And you mean as a 300 level law student, you've gone through how many decades, maybe a decade or so of education from primary to university, and you cannot make $200 a month? Shame on you. No money for you. I was like, whoa, why didn't I lie to her or something? But that moment was the beginning for me, because she told me something that nobody else told me. She told me that I was not the victim at all. That I was only playing the victim because it was the victim game, because it was the most comfortable story I could tell myself. It's comfortable to say you're the victim, yeah? It's comfortable to say Nigeria has happened to you, that you came out from a broke family, so you've got to be broke. That you went to a public university, so there wasn't a lot of scholarship opportunities or platforms to help you pivot. It's comfortable to tell that narrative. That I'm going to do it tomorrow, or I'm going to put it off for next year, so I probably have to wait until that time. So the narrative of small-mindedness is easy, and that's what I put up with. Until she told me that I was better. She told me that I am better than this. That begging was not my profession. that I had to enter into the full extent of my ability. That by the virtue of having just secondary school education, I was already ready to engage life at a high performance level. And you know what? I took her advice. What I did was just to mirror what she was doing. At that point, she had a marketing agency, and what she did was to help other brands sell. And you know what? I was already a marketer because I was begging people. So all I needed to do was just to turn my begging into marketing. And I was a lawyer. And guess what? This guy was my mentor in school. He was my senior one year, and I reached out to him and said, hey, boss, I want to start my business. I want to do marketing and sales. And at that time, I knew nothing about marketing and sales other than being a full-time beggar. You know what? So he just encouraged me and told me to go into that. So I started to market and sell for white folks abroad. And guess what? In 3 months, I had become a millionaire. And this is not some motivational woo trying to get you out of your seat and think, this guy has money and all of those things. But no, I'm trying to tell you a story about you. That today, right now, you can turn a better leaf for yourself. Only if you decide to put off the victim mentality and take on the abundance mindset and the champion's mentality. But that's not going to happen with what's currently happening. And that's what I'm going to talk about, the brain drain. Your attention is under attack. Everybody's vying for attention. Why do you think someone like Pella, Sabinus, Basketballs, I Show Speed, or I Show what's his name, and all of those guys are popular? Why do you think they're popular? Do you think that they truly bring you any value? Yes or no? Like when you watch Pella, do you get anything of value in it? Or when you watch Sabinus, do you really get anything of value in it? But why do you think they are popular and they're getting the best brand deals? Why do you think that's happening? It's all a plot against you. It's a plot against you. But you know the sad thing, you've fallen into that trap. They've trapped you. They've trapped you because for most of you, if I look at beside you, by your side, on your hands, on your lap, in your bag, I'm going to see a cell phone. And that's one of the two. That's a weapon fashioned against you. I think I've made over $200,000 with my cell phone. And no cap. But I'm going to tell you that the weapon fashioned against you is your cell phone. And the brain drain comes from that. In fact, in a study by a company in the US, they found that every time you read and your cell phone is beside you, you're not touching it, your cell phone is beside you, that it reduces your attention and your focus span to over like 50-60%. And every time you take a test, like an IQ test, and your phone is just beside you, that the performance in that particular test always, is very, very low. And in countries like France, cell phones are banned in high schools and college. In fact, in some countries, you do not have access to the social media until you are 16. Because these guys have seen that your attention is under attack, and if only you can regain your attention, then you can enter fully into the extent of why God created you. You are incredible. I don't know if anyone has told you that you're incredible. If nobody has told you that today, I'm telling you. And I'm not someone who's caught out for motivation. I'm someone who wants to tell you the truth. There's something that, I finally, after a long time, decided to go study my master's. Before now, I was so adamant, school is not for me and I'm going to make it outside of school. But when I took the bold step of going to get a master's in an unconventional field, I said I wanted to study peace and, conflict studies. I wanted to get a master's in conflict and peace studies. And for me, that was the most incredible step I took in 2025. Because what I found out was that I had a knowledge deficit. I thought I was learning, but I wasn't learning. what I was doing was gratifying my brain with small pieces of information that made no sense, and my brain could not process it. So every time I took my phone, just to distract myself, maybe I want to spend 2 minutes on my phone, and I keep scrolling. Before I know, I've spent 1 hour already, and junking on things that weren't making sense to me. So when I went back to school, and I had a lecturer who studied in Russia, and he was taking us through a particular subject, and I found that I knew nothing about that. He was asking us questions as where the United Nations headquarters was, when was the Oslo, agreement entered into, some of these incredible questions like when was the World War, what incited the World War, why did it happen, the Second World War, the Cold War, and I found out that I had very little knowledge about the world that I'm in, because I have been sold an idea of a world that does not exist. Most of what you currently believe in, they're not true. Do you know why? You don't. Because there's what is called social media imperialism or media imperialism. The first world countries have taken hold of the media, because everywhere now you want to verify news is BBC, CNN. Those are the people that give us verifiable news. I'm distracted. But this guy going out, I know him. His name is Nuhu Suleiman, and I got attached to his content because he's a very stylish guy and all of those things. So I'm advising you to go on social media, but do it the right way. I'm going to tell you the right way before I end. Oh yeah, back to my story. So I said that almost everything that you believe that you see online is not true. And the reason why is because you are sold an idea that does not exist. They know that. They've studied the brain. These guys that own Facebook, Google, TikTok and all of those things, they've studied the brain. They know that your brain wants instant gratification, that there's a particular chemical that is released in your brain. Every time you give your brain, shots, like you watch a reel, that reel was gotten out of the scientific lab. That shorts, Facebook shorts, YouTube shorts, it was intentionally created to give you very short doses of information that keeps you going until the next reel. Do you realize that when you're watching a very important video, it's important, it's important, maybe a Lawrence Oyo or Apostle Selman or somebody, and the video is like 10 minutes. When you're watching it, it's important, you're learning something, but your mind is telling you, go to the next video. And you cannot even explain why that's happening to you. You want to watch something, you want to hold your phone, go through reels, but your mind is constantly telling you, scroll. And you see you are scroll. It's all of those things were the results of a calculated experiment in the lab. That was supposed to keep you bound until the next reel. And to be able to get your life back, to set you into an emotion that gets you to your next level and higher dimension, you must buy back your attention. I now realize that was one thing that got me far ahead, and I didn't make my first million in less than in 3 months because I was smart. I made that because I had attention. At that time, I had a phone that was knock and start, and a laptop that had very bad webcam. So it means I had time, I had patience, I needed to sit down and work. And at that time I was broke, so I didn't have time for reels and movies. I was an Ajekpako boy. We didn't watch a lot of movies, and when Mr. Victor was talking about Iran, I had no idea about what he was talking about because I didn't have that level of exposure for movies. So I realized that I'll be in my room from maybe 6 p.m. and the next time I'm checking my watch will be 4 a.m. in the morning. I was working on marketing and sales. I was working on something that was helping me push my future even forward and better. And now that I'm realizing it even more, I became a little bit comfortable. When I started to make money and I saw results, I started to watch reels. Sometimes I'll watch reels. Maybe I want to sleep maybe by 12 after prayers. I'll watch reels until 4 a.m. Just watching random things that made no sense. And I know that trap has caught almost everybody in this room. And that's why I'm here to break that trap. Say praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Yes. You have to break that trap today. You've been held in a place that made zero sense. Like 0 cents. It has given you an identity that is not yours in the first place. So every time you look into the mirror, you see yourself in the picture that was sold to you. Because you know your brain is almost fried. And you've got to take that back. Mr. Manasseh was talking about creativity. There's no creativity unless you take your attention back. And I'm very happy that he explained that and he talked about that and all of those things. Zero creativity unless you begin to engage what is called deep work. What did I say? Deep work. Deep work, in my own explanation and definition, is stepping away from your distractions. Giving yourself time with yourself. Some of you, like Mr. Manasseh said, like you don't have time for yourself. Not because you don't have time, but because anytime you have free time, it's like there's a stereotype around not doing anything. Like you've always got to be doing something. You've always got to be active, listening to watching a movie, football, music, and that has taken hold of your mind. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to my notes because I'm already forgetting what I wanted to say. But I hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. Yeah. Please tell me that you're understanding it so I know. Yeah. Are you guys understanding it? Yeah. Yes. So your cognitive abilities are most active when you are focused, when your brain can listen to itself, when your mind can articulate, better things and better informations, when you are away from distractions. So one thing I want you to do today, one thing I want you to take away from this class or session is to have 1 hour every day when you don't touch your phone, you don't do anything, just sit down and think. I remember when I was in school, law school, I lost everything that I lost my millions. I think I lost $10,000 to gambling. That was another skill that I picked up. Too bad for me. It was a bad skill. I lost $10,000 to gambling and I was in law school. I had no money. When you are broke, it teaches you a lot of creative things. And I needed to fly back to Jos the next morning because law school, I think we had a break and I needed to go back to Jos. All I needed to do was to listen to my thoughts. It was like I was reading something that I had already read before. There's a lot of information that your brain has not had time to process, that your mind has not had time to, digest, because you are constantly bombarding your mind with so many trash and distraction. So all I just did was to just calm myself, ask myself, what do I need to do to get $500? Because I need $500 because I was going back to my mom. I needed to buy some things and all of those things. So what I just did was to introspect. I thought about my marketing skills, my begging skills, but now I took it to marketing. And I sold something that same night. I booked my flight that same night. I sold $500. That was like 3 years ago when I was in law school. Because all I did was to allow my mind to process the things that were unprocessed. So I said 1 hour every day. Can you do that? It seems impossible, yeah? When I was writing this, I wanted to tell you guys maybe 30 minutes. But I realized that you've wasted a lot of time already. And if you are to catch up with the first world nations, you have got to pay the price. It's going to be painful, but what price is too great for you to pay for your future? Is any price too great? Can you guys hear me? I want you to be very connecting. I remember this guy he's a popular guy. Yeah, incredible guy. I've seen some of his creative stuff online. Such an incredible guy. I'm honored to be in front of him. Okay, so I also want to talk about the habits of choosing what feels good now. The habits of choosing what feels good now. So watching reels, chatting endlessly on social media. And this sounds basic, yeah? But I guarantee you that these are the foundations and they are the weapons that are fashioned against you. If you are broke, you're not broke because Nigeria is a broke country. I've realized that within Nigeria, there are already billionaires just within Nigeria. They didn't have to go outside abroad or get money. And from Nigeria, from the comfort of my room and my team, we've made thousands of dollars. like real money, good money, not fraud money. We've made good money off of the social media because we've realized that these things are tools and not anything else. I told my friends that if I didn't have to do business on social media, I won't be on social media because it's nothing for me. Like, what's it adding for me? If there was no monetization and making money and connecting with my friends, I probably won't be on social media. So I want you to discard that decision making ability of choosing things that are good for now. You've trained your brain to only choose the things that are good for now. Watching reels, not reading, eating too much, chatting for long times, all of those things are things that feels good for your brain for now. And your brain has been trained to be like that. And that's the zombie effect. Some of you are now zombies. Do you know that? If you think you're a zombie, let me see your hands up. Bold, yes. Yes, so I want us to also talk about how your phone is reducing your brain performance. Your IQ is probably very low because you always have your phone around you. Do you know that? Do you know that your IQ is low because you always have your phone around you? Some of you, the first thing you checked today was not your Bible or your Quran. The first thing you looked at today was your phone. Yes. If that's true, let me see your hands up. Yeah, you've become addicted to your phone. And that's really reducing your IQ. I said when I came here that Nigerians by nature are dogged people. And I saw that happen in my life when I started to work with foreign clients. I started to consult for them. And one of my oldest clients is 76 years old. And sometimes when I'm in a client session with her, she's from Canada, and she cries on the session. Like, she feels that this guy, you have so much wisdom. Where was I for 76 years? Where was I? And I found out that I didn't have to do so much of learning to perform at that level. All I needed to do was to regain and buy back my attention. I have clients who they see me as one like Socrates or one inventive guy from somewhere only because I'm a Nigerian. Do you know that Nigerians are one of the most intelligent people in the world? Not because we're naturally intelligent, but our circumstances have brought out the best in us. But sometimes we've relegated all of those abilities because of our attention span. Very low attention span. We don't engage high performance habits. Very few of us read. By nature, I grew up from a very poor home. Nobody taught me how to read. In fact, the only time I saw my dad held anything that resembled a book was when he was looking for his documents for, I think, revalidation, because he was being paid pension and he always had to go and renew something like that. That was the only time I saw my dad held anything that looked like paper. And my mom, she wants to read, but she cannot. Her highest education was class 3, primary 3, and that was when she stopped in the village. And the village school was not school at all because they were farming for their teachers. Even though she wanted to read, she couldn't. So I didn't grow up in a home where people wanted to read. In fact, I think I was probably the first person to step into university in my house. So reading didn't come naturally for me. It came because I had people like Manasseh and networks of people who loved to read and wanted to engage reading. And some of the books that I've read, just by taking some lines out of the books, because I remember I took a line out of a book just yesterday. I was negotiating for a $20,000 deal, and the person wanted to take a huge commission off of that deal. And I just remember that I read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And the book was talking about negotiating as if your life depends on it. And I took a line out of that book and just renegotiated that commission, because the person was the one bringing $20,000 my way. All I needed to do as an average Nigerian was to be thankful and take the money. But I told myself, no, this guy was reaping me. And not reaping me, so he doesn't see this. he was just playing smart. And I took a line from that book and I renegotiated that commissions with him. Just a line from a book. It saved me and my team. You don't know this, yes. It saved us at least $500K extra every month. because I renegotiated it. So you've got to read. Stay off your. I know people say I like to read from screens and all of those things. Learn how to read hardcover books. I want you to start re-educating yourself to do things like the conventional billionaires. Yesterday, before as I was preparing for these things, I was studying some billionaires in the world and how they had high performance habits. And I found that people like Bill Gates, they have a whole weekend where they just go and study books, hard copy books, or not soft copy. They stay away from distraction. How many of you have seen that documentary? Are you guys watching documentary at all? Yes, where Bill Gates goes off for a week and he studies incredible books, and you wonder why he's a billionaire. You know, I've studied that some of the best billionaires in the world, I'm talking about good billionaires, not billionaires that made money off of, crazy things. Some of the best billionaires in the world, they have a healthy relationships with their gadgets. In fact, I've heard billionaires say that all their children below age 2, most of them don't get access to laptops and tablets and phones, because they know that brain drain is happening to their words. I almost said praise the Lord. Do you guys think I should be a pastor? I should be one, yeah? But yeah, I almost said praise the Lord. But I really want you to get this. That's why I'm very slow. I really want you to understand that you can have an incredible future. You can become the best version of yourself. You can turn this thing that looks like failure, that looks like difficulty and poverty and lack, into a life of abundance. And it can happen in a twinkle of an eye. Like, it can happen like magic. Only if you begin to engage high performance habits. What did I say? Guys, we are cold, right? I don't like how cold we are. You have to begin to engage high performance habits. And one of the high performance habits you must engage is, as much as possible, avoid multitasking. We've been taught that multitasking is a good thing. People come and they have theories around multitasking. But for high performance, people who want to be high performers, what they do is that they set a particular thing, a time for a particular thing until they get it done, and then they move to the next thing. You are most productive when you have your full attention on a particular project. I have one of my clients. It's not my client, so that nobody gets me. But I have one person. He pays people around $3,000 every month just to take out from his plate things that are not important for him to do that he can delegate. So he only focuses on things that are the needle movers. Right? It's needle movers. I want you to go and investigate some of these words that I'm telling you. He only engage things that are the needle movers. So for some of you, like I told my guys yesterday, for some of you, you have to do away with your laundry. Pay somebody to do it. There are some things that you do not have to do. I know I'm talking about multitasking, but I know that there are some things that you do not have to do. And honestly, you don't have to multitask. You have 24 hours, and if you sleep maybe 6, 7 hours, 8 hours, then you have the rest hours to do things. All you need to do is set a particular time for a particular project. I remember when I was reading for my master's exams, because I finished from ABU, the best university in Africa, and I read like crazy. I read like crazy. Even if it's just a small test, I read my eyes out. I don't sleep. I read crazily. And it hurt me badly because one of the days I read throughout the night for a simple course. I read throughout the night and I wanted to take like 30 minutes nap. The exams was 11 a.m. and by 7 a.m. I said, okay, let me just take a quick nap. And guess what? I woke up, somebody woke me up because I was dreaming that I was somewhere abroad and somebody tapped me around 11. Because I didn't give my brain time to rest. What happened to me was that there was a backlash. And so when I finally went into the exam hall, I was blank. Because I had stressed my brain so much to a point where the brain was like, I'm off. I can't do anything. So I had to take time in the exam hall to remember what I've read. And I was struggling so hard to remember. because nobody taught me that I needed to give myself rest, and I didn't have to multitask. Because every time I was reading, I was pressing phone. I was not, watching reels. I was trying to sell something. I was trying to build my business amidst, reading for an exams. And that, it came out really bad. But I know I'm going to top my class anyways. Okay. Okay, so I want you now, maybe now or after this session, to write the things that distract you the most. Because you cannot address what you do not know. Some of you think you are not distracted, like, I just need to maybe get my life in alignment. When people come to me for clarity sessions and all of those things, most of the things they tell me is like, I just need some clarity around this. But most times what you need is to know exactly what's distracting you. Some of you, because of your low self-esteem, you cannot be alone with yourself. Like, you need external validation. You need to pick up your phone and watch Pella a bit, or watch Sabini's a bit, and you laugh, just to give yourself some sort of, that you are connected to them. That we're all young people. I know I should speed, you've got to write a list of the things that are distracting you. It might be your phone, your friends, the kind of companies you keep, the places you go to. So you have to have a list of the things that are distracting you. And you also have to choose the kind of content that you watch. This is how to rewire your brain. Because your brain has been taught, easy fix, I want it now, give me now, or, or never, now or never, kind of thing. You have to start to rewire your brain. So what you need to now do is to re-engineer your social media and YouTube. So instead of watching Sabini's reels, 30 minutes or 30 seconds reels back to back, you can go to Facebook, look for people that inspire you. Let's say, for example, you want to build something around AI, and have a very good friend of mine, Raphael Tijani. You can go and search for Raphael Tijani. He's into AI, and you can watch his videos for like 5 minutes, like it and comment. What Facebook will start to do, it starts to show you that similar content like that. And when you begin to watch similar content like that, you begin to get small dosage of interesting content. And over time, you're going to rewire your brain from wanting Sabinus comedy and watching I Should Speed, or watching some of the some things that are not really interesting. And for some of you who are addicted to pornography and all of those things, you can begin to rewire your brain to watch things that empower you. Yesterday I saw a very interesting clip, and it was a speech by the president of the Rockefeller Foundation. And that was the first time I heard that guy. I had to go and look for some of his reels, and because I liked it and commented, Facebook started to show me some of the reels of the guy. Go and listen to the guy. I've forgotten his name. I think he's from India, but of course he grew up in the US, so he's a US citizen. So go and look for people like that. Look for Marion Golden. Who knows Marion Golden? Wow. Look for people like that, and you begin to rewire your brain to watch things that empower you rather than things that just excite you. Hope you got that. If you got that, say, I got it.
I got it.
Say it like you mean it. I got it.
I got it.
Yeah. So I have 10 minutes. I want to tell you something very important. A few months ago, I had a session, and I talked about, I'll establish how what you're seeing from the media, all of it is not true. And because I'm studying peace and conflict studies, and I'm currently also studying media and all of those things, I now understand that the media plays a very crucial role in the formation of ideas and in the retentions of ideas. What did I say? The media plays an incredible role in the formation of ideas and retention of ideas. Do you realize that a month ago or 2 months ago, there was so much fear in the hearts of Nigerians about kidnapping and banditry? Do you know that? That was an intentional move by the media. It was all managed. Because all of a sudden we started to see in Nigeria, kidnapping happens like crazy. It happens every single day. People are kidnapped, banditry, terrorism and all that. But all of a sudden, we started to see on media, every social media platform you went to, you had series of engagement on banditry and kidnapping. All those things was to instill fear in your heart because the media knows what it's doing. In school, we were taught that the media is a participant in a conflict. It is not a bystander or a reporter of news. So in conflict theory, there's a theory called the framing theory. Although the media does not tell you what to think about, the media shows you what to think about. So everything you're probably thinking about Trump, Greenland, it's because the media is showing you that, and that is where they want your attention to go. So you're going to see it play out when the election is starting to come and Tinubu wants to win by force and every other governor. You're going to see how the media is going to be used as a tool to make you think things that you would never think about. It's called the framing theory. It frames a particular story in a way that it wants you to interpret it. So Africa has a particular frame that Africa is a third world continent. Do you believe that? Do you agree that we are truly a third world continent? Do you agree? Do you truly agree that we are a third world? You agree? Why do you agree? The fact said is yes, but you know that narrative is told to you because that is where they intend to keep you. China, it took China less than 60 years to take over 800 million people out of poverty. It took them less than 60 years to do that. But since you were born, since my dad was born, and he lived on this earth and died, Africa is a third world nation. Nigeria, it was. We've spent over 60 years of independence, and that same narrative is being spoken about us. All of those things is an agenda. When you begin to understand the media quite well, you begin to understand that most of the things that are told to you are meant to keep you the way you are. So the media is raising zombies that they can just instruct instead of people who can think on their own. That's why I brought all these stories, is to reawaken your cognitive abilities. The ability to be able to think on your own, think on your feet, and make decisions based on your own original ideas or borrowed ideas from people who can think for themselves. If you cannot think for yourself, there's no place for you at the top. This world, it does not favor the most intelligent. It favors the people who are audacious, bold, and courageous. If you check Sabinus, Pella, iShowSpeed, Mr. Beast, and all of those people, if you really sit them down, they are not as intelligent as you are. Do you agree with me? Have you listened to iShowSpeed recently? The guy doesn't say anything that's incredible. He's just bold and courageous. He thinks on his own. He does things that he wants to do according to what he knows. And currently, I think across all social media platforms, the guy has over 200 million followers. Do you know what that means? He has a printing machine in his phone. So what I'm going to leave you here with today is to find time by yourself and begin to have an audit of your life. By audit, I want you to write some of the things that you desire to become. And I want you to be, sometimes we've been taught to think small. Like, to think small is humility. When I first told my dad, see, I'm not going to take any job that pays me less than 500k. And at that time, I think I was like 17 years old. He looked at me with so much anger because the highest salary that my dad ever had was 30,000. In fact, that 30,000 was coming from a combined 2 jobs. And here am I telling him that I want to have a job at 17 that pays me nothing less than 500k. Because I kept saying that, I was so audacious and bold about the things I wanted. It was as if they were magnets. The first job I had was not 500k, of course, but it was $150, and I was still a student then. And the next month it was $300, and that was when dollars was like 450 per the exchange rate, and it kept increasing. I was so bold about the things I wanted that the things that they became so visible, and I was entering into it one step at a time. So in the audit, when you sit down with yourself, be so bold about the things you've ever wanted. Don't be humble. In that paper, I want you to be a proud person, because you know what? This world, it only honors the brave, the bold, and the courageous. It has no place for the timid. Do you understand me? So when you write the things that you desire, I want you to also write the things that are holding you back. There's nobody, and I repeat, there's nobody who is going to be more honest to you than yourself. You know that you've got some, habits, some things, some friends that are holding you back. And I want you to make a conscious decision about letting go of those people, those places, those things, and those attitudes. Who's going to do that? You're going to do that from today, yeah? Because your money, the income you're desiring is behind the actions that you're not doing. And if you become more audacious, if you become more courageous, if you become more bold, you're going to enter into a place called abundance. And that's what I want for you today. Please stand up and clap for me. Clap like you mean it, please. Thank you so much, guys.